Standing Simmer here today, and welcome back to the channel for another speed build in The Sims 4. Guys, this is the speed build for another family home, and this is a part of my Building Up Windenburg series. So big surprise, we're back on that series today. As I mentioned in the last speed build, I do imagine that for the foreseeable future, at least unless I am just incredibly inspired to build something specific and unique, I will probably have all of my builds dedicated to this series. And so yeah guys, that is definitely what we're doing again today. So I do want to kind of like talk about a few of the specs of the build that I actually remember. So this is the thing, I've named this build already. I already have a dedicated name chosen for this build, yet I can't remember what it is right now. So it's already uploaded on the gallery with this name. It will be the name, hopefully, that you see like in the title and possibly on the thumbnail, it depends. But I can't think of what it is right now. And I try to look it back up on the gallery, but of course the gallery's down right now. I mean, big surprise. When is the gallery not down? At least on certain times these days. So I don't exactly remember right off the top of my head what the name of this build is, but it is a pretty large family home, if I could just give it a quick generic title. I was actually building this off of a reference photo, and it's been a couple of weeks ago at least since I initially started to put together the structure of this house. I actually started off by building the structure, and then I furnished just about all of the downstairs of the house, did the vast majority of the landscaping, and then left the rest of the house for a while because I kind of got distracted and caught up in a couple of other building projects. In fact, this was a build that I had initially intended to share with you guys last Thursday, I think. I want to say, possibly, something along those lines. So that gives you an idea as to how long I've kind of been tentatively working on this, then that is definitely about how long. But I did decide that it would be perfect to share with you guys today because earlier in the week we shared a community lot for this Building Up Windenburg series. It was a restaurant, actually the first of the whole series, which you can definitely go check out if you would like. It's called Portside Grill, and it is in my Speeds Builds playlist, just like regular. But I thought that it would be a nice balance to kind of share a family home today instead, so that you kind of get a mixture of community lots and residential lots. So I'm so taken with the way that this house turns out because it actually is pretty nice. I mean, if I do say so myself, I really like the way that the shape ended up turning out. It looks a little rough right now because it's still just kind of barely coming together. Even though there are some components of the house shape as it is right now that don't quite stay the way that they are, I do leave in a lot of this like me just trying to figure out what the shape of the house is, because there are a lot of things I have to cut out later on that I'm kind of sorry about, so I'm kind of trying to make it up to you guys right now by leaving in some other components of the house. For example, the landscaping for sure, especially of the backyard, is a section that I cut a lot out because I was being so indecisive on it. I really just didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. So I just kept going around and around and around and finally settled on something I liked, but it took me a long time to get there. So for that reason, I did end up cutting out the vast majority of the backyard landscaping. So you will see parts of it here and there. I do work on small parts of it, but not a whole bunch of it on camera. So of course that will be shown though in the screenshot, so don't worry about that. And then as far as the actual house shape goes, I was kind of just playing around with the shape a lot. I was building the front part of this from a reference photo, so I did have some inspiration initially as to how some parts of the front were kind of like ideal to come together, but then of course I had nothing to go on for like the back of the house, and then I decided to add in this really cool little like entry area that you can get from the front yard to the backyard. It's kind of like this little overhang type thing, and I've never really done that on a house before, and I really like the way that that turned out. So I don't know, this house just ended up looking really interesting. To be honest with you guys, I also skipped the entire process of me trying to pick out like the paint color for this house as well. Because initially, literally, like the goal for this house for me was do not use the white swatch of the Seasons doors and windows. Like that was my one goal. I had one job going into this speed build because I was really wanting to try to use something else. Because while I am so in love with the Seasons doors and windows, I have been using the white swatch so many times and it's kind of getting ridiculous. I'm sorry for the repetitiveness of that in my builds. But as you can see, guys, we are still using the white swatch of the Seasons doors and windows because I played around with the coloring on those so much, and I combined them with so many different siding options and brick options and just general paint color options. I want to say I probably worked on the exterior coloring of this house for like probably 30 to 45 minutes, just that. So when I ended up putting in that much time into it, I was like, okay, Mariah, you know what? You can be creative and a little bit more original on another build. For this one, the white looks really, really good with the paint coloring I was kind of wanting to use anyway, which was this more like gray color that we ended up going with. And I was like, you know what? Like I said, we can be creative on another build. This is not that build apparently, because I had zero inspiration for any other color scheme to use. So guys, I'm sorry that just about all of my family home builds have used these swatches of these windows, but at the same time, I tried to throw in a lot of other different kinds of windows at the same time, so I'm not exclusively using the Seasons doors and windows in this build. In the back, we have the new sliding door that came with the patch, the recent patch. We have some modern windows because I thought that there would be some more modern components to this house, even though it looks like a bit more of a traditional home. I also used some Jungle Adventure and some Cats and Dogs windows, so yay me, got a little bit more creative in that sense. And I just really love the contrast between the darker gray, like the slate gray color, the lighter gray color in the stone, and then like the black of the fencing. I think it looks really, really pretty because of course that complements the black that's within the white swatch of the windows as well. So I don't know, I just really like the coloring of this house. I'm not too ridiculously mad that I'm keeping to this kind of repetitive theme, but at the same time, I'm really hoping that like the next speed build or two that I share will be slightly different in that sense. Like I may just refuse to use the Seasons doors and windows for a build here coming up soon, just to kind of break myself out of that habit. I don't know if that's going to happen for sure, but that's like kind of tentatively my goal right now. So guys, this house ended up having like this really, really big backyard, which I love so much. I did end up managing to put in like kind of this greenhouse area, which I like to do in my builds as much as possible, because I know that if your Sims want to garden at all, then with of course the addition of Seasons, then you kind of have to have like an all-weather type space. So that's definitely something I try to squeeze in kind of when I can. If I have the space, I try to put it in. And then the backyard area was so big and so kind of like rectangular looking that I even blocked off a corner section of it to be this more like planter box and sitting under the tree space with like a bird feeder. It's pretty simple, but I really like the way that it ended up turning out as well. So then later on in the backyard, we do end up putting in a pool, and I get like a campfire in there as well. We have a basketball hoop. Like there's all kinds of cool stuff in this backyard that your Sims can do, which is really nice because I think that this lot is a 40 by 30 lot. I could be wrong there. Again, the gallery's down. I was gonna have all the specs pulled up here in front of me so that I could tell you guys as I was doing this voiceover. That didn't happen, obviously. But if I remember correctly, this is on a 40 by 30 lot, so I do end up having a lot of room to play with. The house in and of itself is actually very, very large, but then of course you have the backyard that allows you a lot more space too. So ends up being a really big house, ends up having a really big lot, and so I have a lot of room to put in some cooler, like kind of fun and funky items that I don't necessarily always get the chance to put in my build. So you also have the flower arranging station within the greenhouse itself, and then I also squeeze a beekeeping box kind of over in the back corner of the lot behind like the planter area, so that if you do have outdoor flowers and fruits and all that kind of stuff, you will have them nearby the bees, which can pollinate them and kind of do all that fun stuff. To be honest with you guys, I've not played too much with bees in The Sims 4. I had them in one of my first current households right after Seasons came out, but then after that I kind of gave up on them because they were kind of annoying. Like they were always angry, and I was doing my best to try to get my Sim to interact with them and to be friendly and to take care of them, but they were always so angry, and I don't even know what I was doing wrong, to be honest with you. So when I moved on past that current household, I just kind of stopped. We just kind of left the bees alone. I'll leave the bees to do what the bees want to do, because apparently the bees don't want to hang out with me, kind of a thing. But anyways, guys, so we are on into the interior of the house, and I actually began furnishing this almost, I want to say either the day of or the day after the Caribbean update, the patch update came to The Sims. So you'll notice that I'm using quite a bit of items from that here just directly. In fact, the wallpaper that's here in the kitchen is the paneling wallpaper that is from that update as well. So a lot of the items, like as far as the wall coverings go, are actually base game, which is really neat. I love the idea of the patch updates so much. I don't know if I really appreciated patch updates quite to the extent that I do now, like say when I very first started playing The Sims, because I didn't really understand the fact that it is just purely free content and that it is added to the game. Because I started playing The Sims 4 like at least 2 or 3 years into The Sims 4 having been released. So by then there had already been a lot of patch updates. Like the base game when I bought it was very different to the base game when, you know, like you guys who've been playing since 2014 when The Sims 4 first came out, like the base game looks very different today. So I had already like, when you buy The Sims 4 base game today, you know, you have a lot more content than say someone who did buy it back in 2014. So I think that I didn't really know to appreciate those patch updates as much as I do now, because now I've kind of seen progressively the amount of content that they do tend to add in patch updates, which is really, really cool. And so I always appreciate getting that free content, even though now I do own nearly all of the packs. I own everything except Spooky Day at the date of this recording. But since I now own a lot of the packs, I know that I have a lot of content at my disposal and that not everyone has, you know, quite that luxury, I guess you could say. So I love so much that they add free content like this to the game, because it gives us more options as far as like building goes. Because now, like I said, I can tell you that a lot of the wall coverings in this house are base game. So that's really cool. I thought it was a little daring to put this wallpaper with like the palm leaves or whatever they are. I thought it was a little daring to put this in like a dining room area. I think it's pretty busy looking, but I also kind of love it at the same time. So it's a little different to the rest of my dining room. So I always like to try to branch out in that sense. I don't want to furnish the exact same kitchen and living areas like every single time in every single build. So yeah, I just kind of liked putting something a little different in this dining room. Perhaps the people who live here just kind of like slightly more I guess crazy tastes isn't really the way to say that, but maybe they just have some more adventurous taste when it comes to their wallpapering, and so that's why they chose that for their dining room. So as far as the build as a whole goes, the specs that I remember, again guys, this was like completed much earlier this week, and I started building it like again 2 weeks ago. So I'm kind of operating on just purely my short-term memory, which isn't really the greatest, but as far as I remember, there are a total of 5 bedrooms and I think 3 bathrooms in this house. There may be 4 bathrooms. I want to say though that there are 3. And then there are 2 rooms on the downstairs floor that could be additional bedrooms. If you wanted this to be a 7-bedroom house, you totally could have one, because I furnished one of the what could be a bedroom on the downstairs floor as a gym and then the other as an office. So you actually have quite an array of rooms in which you could fit your Sims. So I ended up furnishing this house though with 5 bedrooms, so probably something like 6 Sims or so could live in this house pretty easily. And so yeah, I liked as much space as it ended up having, because when I was initially building this house, to be honest with you, I didn't know that it would end up having this much space. When it comes to creating the exterior of a home and planning ahead for what the interior will look like, I'm not always the best at knowing, oh yeah, you know, this is probably going to afford me like about this much space, because I don't always really know that just kind of by looking at it. I usually don't go into a house thinking I want this to be a, you know, fill in the blank number of bedroom and fill in the blank number of bathroom house. I usually just don't go into builds that way, unless I am like specifically building for like a certain family or something along those lines. Usually I just go into a house and I think, okay, I kind of want this to be a family home, whether that be a 2-bedroom house or a 7-bedroom house. I really don't know, but I tend to figure that out more like when I'm doing the floor planning itself. So once again, very taken with this house. I love the coloring of it so much. The modern versus like the classic windows mixed together really give it this really neat air. Like I would totally live here is what I'm saying. It's kind of big. I would have to have a pretty big family to justify that, I think, in my mind, else I wouldn't want to clean it. But I just really like the way that this house turned out. So definitely hope you guys like it too. Just for the record, as far as just placement on the Windenburg map goes, this is definitely going up in the top left-hand corner of the map, which I'm kind of tentatively calling like the farmland area. So all of the houses out here are kind of in this style, the style of the house that this is built in. And I've already built several houses for this section of Windenburg. It's actually filling up very, very well so far. And I imagine there to be like a group of pretty well-established families that live kind of over in this area. So again, this is a pretty large family. They've been around for a while probably. They probably have pretty good jobs would be my guess. Perhaps they live with like a bit of a different family dynamic, like perhaps like there's some uncles or aunts or grandparents that also live here in the house, and that's why they need more bedrooms. In fact, one of the bedrooms, which we'll get to way later, I'm sorry I'm like talking about this earlier than when it's actually happening, but I think the last bedroom that we furnished in this house is done what I imagine to be more for an adult versus another kid. Either that or like a person who's like really late in their teenage years could possibly like this last bedroom that I'm talking about. Once again, we're not even there yet. Don't worry about it. We're actually still kind of on the downstairs area. We've just kind of moved past furnishing the gym area and are kind of moving into furnishing the office. So these are rooms that I tend to like to put in builds when I have a lot of extra space and I don't really know what to do with that space, because I feel like it's very functional. I actually like my Sims to have a gym if they can, because a lot of my Sims do kind of end up a bit more active than not, whether that be for a challenge or whatever. So it feels very luxurious for your Sims to be able to have a dedicated gym space. And then an office is functional too, because there are so many things that you can do on the computer that both relate to like skill building and like climbing up in your career and things like that. So yeah, I definitely think it's a really good room to have available to you in The Sims. So guys, I do want to mention here, now that we're like way more than halfway through the video, that this video is actually going up on a Friday initially. What I'm about to tell you guys won't be pertinent whatsoever when it comes to if you're watching at any time in the future. I try to keep my builds kind of current if possible, but then sometimes they also kind of have to be like scheduling updates, so I'm sorry about that. But if you're watching this anywhere close to the day that it comes out, you'll know that typically on Fridays I like to post my Family Dynamics Challenge LP. If you guys are not familiar with that LP, I wrote a challenge with a friend of mine here on YouTube called the Family Dynamics Challenge, and I have a Let's Play that's based on that challenge. And as much as I love that LP so much, like it's honestly one of my favorite videos to put out for you guys in a week. It also takes me ages. Like it's such a big time commitment to actually do that LP, because I typically play for something close to like an hour, and then I have to edit it down to like somewhere between 20 and 30 minutes, because I like to make a lot of progress each LP episode. But then of course that means that the recording and the editing time, it just takes ages. Like it just takes actual ages. So sometimes, unfortunately, if I have other things going on in the week, that is one of the videos that kind of does tend to get pushed to the back burner. So unfortunately this week, I don't believe that there will be an episode of that challenge, which I know isn't the end of the world. I mean, I know a lot of you guys do like that challenge, which makes my heart happy. It really does. And if you haven't seen it yet, I definitely, of course, recommend that you go and check that challenge out if you would like. But this week, I don't think that there will be able to be an episode of that challenge. Once again, time commitment, it just didn't really work out well this week. This last weekend, we actually did some traveling to see some family on Saturday. Saturday is usually a big recording day for me. Usually I get a lot of work done on Saturdays when it comes to preparing the next week's videos, and that really took a chunk out of the amount of time I had available to me when it came to putting out videos for this week, you know, the week that you're watching this. So I already had the footage to this build edited, ready to go. It just needed a voiceover. And so I was like, you know what, we'll push the build that normally would have been on Thursday to Friday instead, and we'll just, you know, make up the LP episode next week. So again, just a scheduling update for you guys, just so you don't think, wait, okay, so normally Mariah posts the build on Thursday and Family Dynamics on Friday, but the build's going up on Friday, you know? So just in case that matters to you at all, I like to give information because I like to receive information. I like to be well prepared in like as many aspects of my life as possible. That's just my personality. So when I have information to give you guys, I like to kind of push it your direction. So one pretty cool fun thing that I did today, just like to let you guys know what's going on in my life right now, is I actually went out walking this morning with a friend. And this friend of mine, we've been friends for several years now. Actually, we became friends back like in my second year of college, I want to say, and she was also in her second year of college. So we've really hung out, and just like every couple of weeks we try to like get together and have coffee at least, or just hang out, like maybe go shopping or something like that. By go shopping, I mean like go to Hobby Lobby. If you guys have a Hobby Lobby where you are, you'll know what I mean probably. But for those of you who don't know what Hobby Lobby is, it's like this massive craft store, and it's like, it's got organization stuff. It's got just beautiful things at Hobby Lobby. They sell beautiful things there. And so we like to do like those kind of shopping excursions. So I actually got together with her earlier this morning, and we went for like a long walk, and it's been a beautiful day here today, which it's been super hot up until this point. So it was really nice to have some nice weather kind of coming in. And so we went for a long walk, and then we had some coffee and just caught up, because it's actually been more than a month this time around since the last time I was able to see her and catch up with her. So I'm actually feeling really happy today as a result of that. It's really good to see your really good IRL friends, I guess you could say, because I don't know. I know a lot of us, if you're lucky, you have some friends probably here in the simming community. I know I do. I am like so lucky to have some really good friends here in the simming community. And, you know, that's probably something that you guys can relate to if you talk to anyone, you know, on Twitter or through a Discord server or even in the comments in a YouTube video, that those friendships are just as precious as the ones that you have in real life. But at the same time, I feel like it can be very easy when you're involved in something as cool as like a gaming community. I think it can also be kind of easy to let those real life friendships kind of slip by sometimes because life gets busy and it's really easy to kind of fall into that. So I was really glad this morning that I decided to like make a little bit of time and go and see her because I always love, you know, catching up with her when I do get to see her. So I guess the takeaway from this video, which I tend to do from time to time for no apparent reason, is that if you have real life friends, then I don't know, maybe try to set some time aside to see them because again, those real life friendships are those like more in person, I guess, friendships are just as important as the ones you have online. Actually, it's my great desire that one of these days I will be able to meet some of my, you know, quote unquote, online friendships, my online gaming friendships in real life, that I will be able to meet some of those people. But at the same time, you know, I don't know if that will actually happen. I so hope that it does. But I do know that I have people here like in person that I can see kind of on a regular basis. So it's something I try to do if possible. So guys, now with that little like life lesson out of the way, which none of you actually asked for, then we are of course on to the upstairs of the build. We have been for a while. As you can see, a lot of the coloring of the rooms is just really pretty, like kind of pastel. I mean, there are a couple of pastel colors in there until we move on to the very last bedroom, which is definitely not pastel. But I wanted to put up this whole like living area on the upstairs floor where like you have like a gaming center and like a TV and some fun things for kids to do. And that way, like the downstairs area is definitely more of like a formal type living area. But then since this is definitely a family home, I like the idea of putting in something like that where like the whole family can hang out, where the kids can be just as comfortable, where the adults don't have to worry about like the kids' toys and stuff getting in the way. So that was definitely what my goal was for that like living area kind of at the landing right up from the stairs. And then all the bedrooms and the bathrooms kind of branch off from there. Speaking of the bathrooms, by the way, I did furnish all of them off camera. I did them prior to when I was furnishing the rest of the house. And so just heads up for you guys there that I did choose to do that in that build because I also knew that it was going to be like such a bear to furnish, that there would be so many rooms I would have to deal with and go through and furnish that the footage was already going to be super long. In fact, when I put the footage in and sped it up and it was just raw and uncut and everything, I want to say that the footage to this build was something like, it was like between 45 minutes and like an hour for sure. So being that the video itself is only like around the 24 minute mark with the screenshots, I did have to cut it down quite considerably. So guys, like I said, this build is available on the gallery, and if the gallery is working by the time that I post this video, I will have that link for the download down in the description below. But anyways, guys, I think we are gonna go ahead and jump off right here because we're heading into the screenshots. But I just appreciate you guys watching so much today. I really do love that you guys tune into the videos, and let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think that this is a good house for in addition to my Windenburg save? I really love the way that it turned out. I know I've already said that like 3 times, but there you go. But yeah, guys, I am gonna go and wrap it up right here. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you're having the best of days, and I will see you very soon. Bye!